Hey guys, Kevin here. So I have both the FP350S oil pan and the GT500 oil pan. I was gonna doing a little video here to show you the differences because it's pretty interesting. So just like the FP350S oil pan, this guy has trap doors on all four sides. As you can see, the one here and then on the sides, and then there's actually one up here in the front. And I'm presuming oil goes past through, goes forward here under braking, pulls up in this area, and then is hidden behind the door until you change the G-force and it allows it to open. So this pan, I don't know the exact capacity versus this pan. I'll know when I put it on the car and I fill up the car. But from what I've heard is the FP350S oil pan carries about a quart to a quart and a half more oil is kind of the estimate right now. Some interesting things, as you can see here, the back part of the FP350S pan has both of these little wings, if you will, these extra containers to increase the oil capacity. The GT500 pan does not have that. It has these guys here on the, more towards the middle, and they're not full depth. They're only, just for the top, third to half of the oil pan do they allow for that extra capacity. My assumption is that has to do with handling lateral load. As far as the pickup, if you've been following me in my fun for any amount of time, you'll know that I actually, when I pulled my FP350S pickup tube out, it had cracked the mount. There was a mount part here that you bolted down to one of the main caps. That was broken on mine, so this was just being flung around, and the only thing holding it in was the mount here for the that goes into the actual oil pump. And as you can see with the metal here, it's pretty scored up. So it was moving around quite a bit in there and causing some issues. Fortunately, it's a pretty tight fit here with this nice trap door system in here, so it wasn't moving around too much and stuff, but it did end up ruining the O-ring, and it was on its way to failure. So if I hadn't caught that, and I hadn't pulled the engine out when I did, that would have been an oil pump failure and likely blown up the motor. So the nice thing about the the GT500 oil pickup tube is, one, it's bigger, so you can see the diameter here is bigger. The tube diameter, I should say. The the tube that goes into the oil pump appears to be the same, but the actual tube, as you can see, I'll throw some measurements on the screen. I didn't pre-measure, but the oil pickup tube's a little bigger. But some things that are nice about it: one, the tube here bolts with two bolts directly into the higher flow oil pump, which I'm a fan of. This will give me more confidence than that setup, which was bolted to the mains. So that could, the oil pump was able to move independently of the main, or of the tube, which I wasn't a fan of. And the second is the pickup tube here, or the mount, I should say, for the pickup tube here at the end, it's brazed on the edges, and it's got a nice spot weld, or a nice weld here. It's a very nice piece. And the thing that I like is the areas where there are bends, it's got the ridges in here for extra rigidity. So you can see that this is a very tough piece. I anticipate this handling the vibrations from the Voodoo much better. If we take a look at, the OEM piece that snapped off, you can see this is just flat stock that was bent in a bending brake. So this is clearly an inferior thing. And if the camera, I don't know if it'll focus, but you can see here, there's a shiny part, and then there's a dull area. So clearly that there was a material issue with this guy. So not impressive with that. And then, so the last thing here with the oil pump, I don't have numbers from Ford or anything like that, but supposedly this GT500 oil pump is a higher flow pump, so it should flow better oil should flow oil better than the OEM GT350 pump that I was using. Only downside is I don't believe anybody is making a billet oil pump gear for this yet, so that is one thing you'll have to be concerned about. The other thing of note, I don't have my original windage tray that I was using with this one because it was broken when I was pulling it out. But by broken, I mean the seal, it had started to leak on me. But the windage tray that I used with my FP350S oil pan here, I actually had to modify because the front up here wasn't compatible with that. So I bought mine all as one kit from Ford Performance. I bought it through a dealer, of course, but it came as a kit from Ford, and the windage tray wasn't a match, and so it wasn't compatible. So I had to cut a bunch of plastic out. It was really not a great experience. This guy is a direct fit for this oil pan. It fits fantastic. Obviously, you can see this works nice. And then this guy doesn't need the cuts up there because the recess is built right in. And all of this came together from the dealer that I bought it from. Actually, I bought it from, I think it was Blue Oval Industries for like $760. That includes oil pump, pickup tube, you know, oil pan, all that good stuff. This guy, this FP350S oil pan with the pickup tube and the windage tray was $1,600 by comparison. Don't get me wrong, this is a much better setup. You have more oil capacity and you have much more advanced windage tray here with more, which is nice. But like I said, I'm not the most impressed with this, at least on the Voodoo, because I had issues with it. You know, obviously the pickup tube failed, which was awesome. And then it's going to be really hard for you guys to see, but these little welds down here for the trapdoor I found out had cracked as well. So this was slowly working its way loose. So really not a fan of that. But if you're running one of these on your own car, I don't really know what to tell you, to be honest. Just keep an eye on things. I actually think I was able to hear the issue with my oil pickup tube, because when I pulled my car into the garage right before I removed the motor, I heard what sounded like a very, very slight knock. Not like a rod knock. It wasn't as metallic-y as rod knock. It wasn't nearly as scary, but there was clearly a rhythmic sound inside the oil pan, which is why I immediately went and pulled it out. So if you have one of these, just keep an eye on it. If you notice any issues, that's where I would look. I would look to make sure that your oil pickup is working correctly, stuff like that. Keep an eye. If you're taking your motor out, check your welds and stuff. Make sure everything's good and kosher for you. Ford is going to take my oil pickup tube back and look at it and examine it. So hopefully, if there is an issue that they find with more than just mine, they'll go ahead and fix that, and everybody will, there'll be an option going forward. But I'll keep you guys updated on how the GT500 oil pan works. So far, I'm very impressed with it. I think it'll be a really nice go-between between these two. The OEM GT350 oil pan is a fantastic pan. The only reason I would go with a different one is if you just want to switch to metal or you want more oil capacity, which is what I'm doing. So I'm switching to this guy for the little bit more oil capacity, and I wanted a metal pan with all the benefits to that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions or anything like that. Happy to help.